Hello everyone. Hope you will be fine and in the high state of Iman and health. So, belief and health. So, today I'm going to share you some important lines by Bertrand Russell. And Bertrand Russell, I'm going to share you. And these are my most favorite lines from his book. And I'm going to share it with you. Yeah, page number 41. So these are my most favorite lines which I'm going to share you right here. I especially acknowledge to my all students. I'm also wishing you and I'm also missing you a lot. So today I'm going to share you what is freedom. National freedom, freedom of the group, individual freedom. There are many kinds of freedom. Of some the word has too little, and of others it has too much. But in saying that there can be too much of any sort of freedom, I much hasten to add that the only kind of freedom which is undesirable is that which diminishes the freedom of others. For example, the freedom to make slaves. The world cannot secure the greatest possible amount of freedom by merely instituting anarchy, for then the strong will be able to deprive the weak of freedom. I doubt whether any social institution is justifiable if it diminishes the total amount of freedom in the world, but many social institutions are justifiable in spite of the fact that they curtail the freedom of some individual or group. In its most elementary sense, freedom means the absence of external control over the act of individuals or groups. It is thus negative conceptions and freedom alone will not confer any high value upon a community. The Eskimos, for example, can high value upon a community. The Eskimos, for example, can dispense with government, with the compulsory education, with traffic regulations, and with the incredible complications of company law. Their life, therefore, has a very high degree of freedom, but nevertheless, few civilized men would prefer it to life in a more organized community. Freedom is a requisite for many kinds of good things, but the good things have to come from the impulses, desires, and beliefs of those who enjoys the freedom. Great poets confer lustres upon a community, but one cannot be sure that a community will produce great poetry merely because there is no law against it. We think it right to compel the young to learn reading and writing, though most of them would much rather not. This is because we believe in positive goods which only literacy makes possible, but also liberty does not constitute the total of social goods. It's so necessary for most of them and so liable to be unwisely curtailed that it is scarcely possible to exaggerate its importance. National freedom. There are various kind of national freedom. There are various kind of freedom, and at least two different forms of classification of these kinds. First freedom may be classified according to as they are enjoyed by a nation, a group within a nation, or an individual. And secondly, they may be classified according according as they are economic, political, or mental. So this latter division can never be made very sharp. In the 18th and early 19th century, it was especially national freedom that was emphasized when it was said the Britons never shall be slaves. What was meant was that they should not be under the orders of foreigners. It was not thought that the press gang, for example, interfered with freedom, or that there was an inconsistency in speaking of England as a free country at a time when men were liable to be transported for radical opinions. It may even by it may even be freedom from freedoms, which is especially desirable when I acquired freedom. One of advantages sought and obtained was extinctions of the freedom to read books disliked by the Roman Catholic Church, a kind of freedom which the brutal English had insisted upon inflicting upon Ireland. National freedom will always be energetically sought wherever it does not exist. It is at present a dominant aim in North Africa and in those parts of Asia where it has not yet been achieved. The desire for it is so vehement that there is sure to be dangerous unrest wherever one nation attempts to govern another. It does not. It does not follow. It does not follow. Also, many people seems to think that that a nation should be subjected to no control whatever, insofar as a nation for an international community. Individual nations need the control of law, just as individual persons do in a national community. There is as much difference between imperialism and international. So, where we were, sure to be dangerous and so far. It does not follow. Also, many people seems to think that it does that a nation should be subject to no control whatever, insofar as nations from an international community. Individual nations need to control of law, just control of law, just an individual person do in a national community. There is as much difference between imperialism and international control as there is between slavery and the control of the criminal law. In the reaction against imperialism, nations which emancipate themselves from the control of a single imperialistic power are apt to make a claim for complete independence of all control, which can only be justified on principles which led straight to anarchism. It must be said that the great powers are almost equally to blame. They tend to favor an international authority only so long as they feel sure of dominating it, and they thus make it appear as merely a disguised prolongation of the old imperialism. The problems which are really becoming more acute in Asia and in Africa requires for the solution the general acceptance of a point of view which so far has not commended itself either to the great powers or to the smaller ones. Take, for example, the question of the Suez Canal. Suez Canal, there was no reason why it should be controlled by the British. But there is also no reason why whatever of such international importance should be controlled by those who happen to live in its neighborhood. You might just as well say that people who live near a great man road should have a right to erect obstacles upon it whenever they feel so disposed. It is obviously that in reason the Suez Canal should be controlled by an international authority. It is equal obvious that Panama Canal should be so controlled in a just system. While the Egyptians would share power over the Suez Canal, they would acquire in return a share of power over the Panama Canal. I do not see such a proposal winning acceptance at the present time, but until it does, the Egyptian case cannot be fully answered. Freedom of the groups and freedom of the individuals, and we will discuss it later with the political freedom and economic freedom and mental freedom. So that will be our next topic in Russell's creations. So before going, I would like to request you that must subscribe and hit the bell icon. Bye bye.